am a highly sensitive woman. And for decades of my life, I really believed that that was a flaw and that that was something that was wrong with me and needed to be fixed. And that kind of shaped how I moved through the world. And as a result, really struggled with anxiety and depression for a number of years and had some stays in hospitals and on disability. And it wasn't until I really started to understand what being a highly sensitive woman is and what that looks like and how to work with it and not against it and stop trying to force myself to be something that I am not.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Running Strong Mind Body Connection podcast. And this is where mental fitness meets peak performance. And I'm your host, Karen Bonnet-Natraj. I'm a mental fitness coach, I'm an ultra distance athlete, and a growing voice for resilience, courage, and transformation. From being a single parent and going to college to breaking through anxiety, depression, and burnout, I've learned that real strength isn't about never failing. It's about rising again with intention and heart. I run 50, I ran over 50 100-mile races, and I'm training for my Cocodona 250-mile race, all to prove that what's possible when you align your mind and body and purpose. So, on this show, we bring practical mindset tools, actionable training insights, and the stories that remind us it's never too late to redefine what you're capable of. Whether you're an endurance athlete, it's never too late. So, if you're an endurance athlete and how we navigate through daily life, those are the toughest climbs. You'll leave each episode with a clearer path to your next mile. My guest today is Alyssa Gosset, and I'm super excited to have her because she's also a certified life coach and a host of the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. So we have another podcaster joining us today. She helps others navigate transformation, learning to manage their emotions, embrace their sensitivity, and live with purpose. We're going to explore how she trained for the Indy Mini just crossing the finish line, and it's about honoring her grandmother's legacy, and reminding others that it's never too late to do things you once thought you couldn't. So, everybody, I welcome you to the podcast, and let's jump in.
Okay.
So today, everybody, I want to welcome Alyssa Gosset. I am really excited to explore her story and her journey of how she's come through many obstacles in her life, and as a fellow runner as well as another podcaster. So, Alyssa, please welcome to Running Strong Mind Body Connection podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, Karen, so much. It is an honor to be here.
So can you, so listen, and I met through another type of group, so I don't, can you share then a little bit about yourself with our guests?
Sure. So I am, as you mentioned, a podcaster. I have the podcast, The Highly Sensitive Woman, because I am a highly sensitive woman. And for decades of my life, I really believed that that was a flaw and that that was something that was wrong with me and needed to be fixed. And that kind of shaped how I moved through the world. And as a result, really struggled with anxiety and depression for a number of years and had some stays in hospitals and on disability. And it wasn't until I really started to understand what being a highly sensitive woman is and what that looks like and how to work with it and not against it and stop trying to force myself to be something that I am not, that my life completely changed, honestly. And now I live a very full life and, am training for a half marathon that has been a goal since I was 19 years old. And I'm just so excited to share all of that with you and your listener today.
Absolutely. So let's explore first a little bit about being a highly sensitive woman. And in what the work I do, is I truly believe people are not stepping into their potential. And my work is the mental fitness and the stories we create as a child of who we think we are, but deep down inside we know we're something different, but we don't know how to articulate it and we don't know how to explore it. And so therefore we spend, time as an adult exploring that. And if I never, potential in ourselves is living our purpose and living who the truth of who we are. So with that, would you explore a little bit and dive into a little bit about being a sensitive? What does that mean, being a sensitive woman?
Sure. So it's kind of twofold. One component is my senses. All five senses are pretty heightened and very easily overstimulated. And so that has affected me in a number of ways. But from a societal perspective, right? Like we don't always celebrate the really quiet, reserved person. We kind of celebrate the loud, and being in kind of loud environments I can do it for sure and have learned how to work with that. But for a long time, it was just really hard, and it was hard to be in social settings and to be in groups of people I did not know and those types of things. And was kind of told that, that being shy was what was happening for me. And I don't think that's accurate anymore. I was, told I just needed to be more confident and, all of those types of things. The other component that comes with being a highly sensitive person is the emotions that we feel. We feel them very, very strongly and can kind of pick up on subtle changes in other people's emotions. I'm not saying that I can feel their emotion by any means, but a lot of times can pick up on a change in their presence and can notice maybe when something is a little bit off before someone who is not a highly sensitive person. And pretty much every emotion comes out of me in tears. So that's another thing that was a real challenge growing up. Not so much at home, but in other areas, right? Like there's a lot of don't cry, stop being so sensitive, those types of phrases and messaging that you internalize and you think that there's just something wrong with you and that you just need to fix it. And
Exactly.
there's no fixing it, right? You cannot
Right.
turn it off as much as you would like to in different situations. And for so much of my life, trying to force myself to turn it off and telling myself that my way was wrong and that the way that other people moved through the world was right. I mean, it really did then destroy my confidence and, it just kind of had a ripple effect. And it wasn't until, I learned actually the phrase highly sensitive woman and knew that there were about 20% of the entire population who fit into the category of being a highly sensitive person that I recognized that I wasn't the only one. There are a lot of people who experience what it's like to live in the world in this way, and I just didn't feel so alone, and then started to have language and tools to learn how to work with it.
So what was your turning point? Yeah. So what was your turning point of and I'll explain that a little bit deeper. So I'll explain mine. So mine was I was in a very as a child too, I was classified as shy. But what I was doing was hiding in myself and hiding because I believed a different message in the world was more appropriate as for our right to be happy, our right for inner joy, not living in a turmoil environment and or toxic environment. And in doing that, I found myself in a toxic relationship. And so when I got out of that was my deep turning point of feeling really alone in life. What's wrong with me? How come I can't fix anybody else? Blah, blah, blah. And that was that point where it's like, hey, I have this feeling inside. What is it? And that journey of exploring that and where I am today. So, what was your turning point?
I would say it's a little bit similar in that part of the messaging that I was getting was in a previous relationship. I was married to a very extroverted, very high energy, very wants to be stimulated at all times person. And he is a good man, and I don't want to speak negatively about him as a whole, but in that, the messaging that I got in our relationship was that his way was right and my way was wrong. And when I internalized that and it led to my anxiety and my depression, I ended up on disability for 6 years. I was hospitalized a couple of times, and we had this very unhealthy codependent dynamic in our relationship. And I guess like the big turning point, and it was like a 10-year process, but
Of
the
course, yeah.
the big turning point for me was when we separated and ultimately got a divorce, and I got some different messaging, honestly. And not to say that he didn't have the best of intentions. I think genuinely he did. I think he thought what he was doing was helping and just didn't quite understand how detrimental it was. And I didn't have the internal confidence and belief in myself. There was a whisper in there. There was, and I just didn't know how to trust that intuition at the time. And so I believed what he and the medical professionals were telling me, and I was trying to do all of the things and check all of the boxes, and it wasn't working. And so I finally started trying something different.
Good for you. And that's taking that step is courageous because, and I know for myself, it's like I've just felt really alone. Nobody got me, nobody understood me. And then as I read and as I talked with people and as I grew and grew and grew, and I just devour all sorts of books and support groups and mentors and whatnot, is like that's, and then once you start on that journey, you never stop. You know, it's a constant learning, it's a constant evolution of our own awakening, I'm going to say, into the truth of who we are. And it's scary. I think more and more today, there's more people that are becoming more open and awake and understanding the science and as well as the holistic part of life, and that we are deeper inside of ourselves, extremely special, very
Yeah.
special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I I love that we talk about it more because we didn't talk about any of this when I was growing up, right? Like this was not common language, and you didn't have the words for it. And I didn't realize I too felt so misunderstood all of the time. And I didn't realize how much I was contributing to that because I was so afraid to say what I wanted and to ask for what I needed because I thought those things were wrong and that I shouldn't. And I was always deferring to someone else. And I didn't understand it at the time in
Of
the way that I
course.
understand it now.
Right. And even as a kid, we don't have the words for that. And the other thing, I think people who don't have the special quality that we were born with, they can't relate to that, and we have to fit into this box, but we don't fit into it because we're not the right fit. And I know that. So I don't know how, and this is nothing I've said in the podcast before, but I believe my soul picked my parents from my own soul's journey to expand itself. And now I see clearly on what my path is. And nothing against them, but I know that they were super confused because I would ask questions. And as a child, when you ask questions, you're like, well, you get yelled at and don't ever ask those questions again. So we don't. And we get smaller and smaller and smaller until we have that turning point. But it's a blessing on where we're at today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, much like you, I contorted to fit into a box that I was
Yeah,
never meant to fit in, and before I knew it, I didn't recognize myself. And I when I went through my separation and divorce, it was right before turning 40, and that was the first time about 6 months before turning 40. The first time in my life that I had lived entirely on my own. Didn't have a roommate, wasn't living with my parents, my ex-husband, and that self-discovery process was so liberating because I got to make every decision. It was scary at first,
Of course.
the idea of
Yeah.
making every decision for myself, but it was also so liberating and so empowering to be able to choose without seeking input from someone else.
You made one little comment a bit ago on, well, it was 10 years, like that was something bad. Everything's supposed to happen right now. So why didn't I know this now? But our life is a journey and everything happens at the right time. And it's like I could look at this and say, "Oh, well, I'm this old. I should be." Well, we don't need to shame ourselves. We've done enough of that as a kid. But it's all a process in life, and so let's shift this a little bit, and let's shift this into because you also mentioned that you're a runner, and you mentioned your grandmother. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so my grandmother passed away when she was 47 and I was just 5. And I don't remember her at
Oh,
all. I have a few pictures and I have some stories from my mother, but I don't remember her. But I still feel so connected to her and feel like she has really shaped my life, which is kind of an interesting experience. But this year, sorry, this past year, I turned 47. And in leading up to that birthday, I had always known that age, but it was like as it was approaching, I realized like just how young she was, and the birthday felt very big for me. You know, like some like 40 or 50 might feel like that's how 47 felt for me. And as a result of that, I felt really motivated to do some big things. And I signed up for the Indy Mini, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, half marathon in the world. And I'm from Indiana and I live in
I
the
get you.
Indianapolis area.
Yeah.
And that is a race that I have wanted to do since I was a freshman in college. And when I was in college, I couldn't do it because I never knew if I was going to have finals on that Saturday. And then after college, I moved to Georgia and I lived there for 15 years. And the timing of it, it's in May. It goes with the Indianapolis 500, and it's a big spectacle. But the timing of that just never worked with my schedule, and so I had kind of dismissed it as it was something that wasn't going to happen for me. I have done a couple half marathons and felt like, okay, I can say that I've done that and I've achieved that goal, but after my divorce, I moved back to Indiana, and that desire to do the Indy Mini kind of stirred back up in me. And I have signed up for it a couple of times since moving back. And
Nice.
it, for whatever reason, some things happened, and I still have not done it. So when 47 was rolling around, I was like, okay, I am doing it this year. And so I signed up, and I am in the midst of training, and I have had this very yucky virus that is trying to derail my training, but I'm not letting it because I'm doing that race one way or another. And
When
it
is
really
the
is,
when is it?
sorry, it is May 2nd.
Yay.
Yeah, and I have no time goal in mind. I have no, I'm going to walk this much, I'm going to run this much. I'm just training so that I can complete it. And you do get to go on the Indianapolis 500 track during the race, which is really cool. And if you want to stop and get a photo op and kiss the bricks, you can do that. So that's the other thing that's happening. I'm going to finish and I'm going to kiss the bricks.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you. It's interesting how life gets in the way of what it is we might want to set ourselves up to, and but the perseverance that you have in your heart, that's awesome. That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
I feel like it's just such a celebration of a goal that I've had for nearly 30 years and had given up on and written off and accepted. Well, I did some other half marathons, so that counts. And it doesn't. And so it feels really good to still be pursuing this one and to be just 9 weeks away as of today when we're recording.
That's
So,
right. It is 9 weeks away from when we're recording this. We're recording this on February 27th. So 9 weeks. My 9 weeks away is for the Cocodona 250-mile race.
whew, I'm gonna
So
stop
that
at 13.1.
no, that doesn't diminish anything what you're doing. I find that that's just amazing when people can step into these challenges in life and take on something that they may think is a huge hurdle, which is anybody running a half, anybody running a 5K, 10K, anybody running is just an amazing accomplishment in anything. I come here in California. There's the California International Marathon. You run from Folsom to the capital of Sacramento. I will never talk about myself. This is about marathon people when people are out there. But then they ask me about me. So then I tell them. But it's all about the people who are doing that marathon. And so many people, that's their first marathon. It's a really good first marathon. So with that comment, Miss Alyssa, when is your first marathon? You've done a few halves, though.
Oh, I don't know that there is going to be a first marathon. We'll
And you
see,
never
but
know.
yeah, that's true. You never know. But as of now, at 47, that has never been a goal. So we'll see if that ends up popping up at some point. I will say, for me, doing things outside my comfort zone and pushing myself is one of my favorite things to do. So maybe after I achieve this one, I will get the itch to train for a full. But right now, the half feels like it's good.
So that's when, at the very beginning of this is where I mean we aren't stepping into our potential. Our potential doesn't mean we have to be at the top of our career or there's something deeper in us that's still wanting to come out. And in my youth, as I was a very young child, we lived in Covina, and behind my house was just these rolling hills. And at 7 years old, I was like so curious what's beyond that. What is that? And I just go take off. Then I come home and get grounded. Then I go take off, and I come home and get grounded. Then I go take off. And I was just that curiosity of adventure. And so what happened, I get married, I have 3 kids, I'm a single mom, blah, 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 life happens. My mom died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and my brothers and I and my oldest son and his cousin rode the MS 150 ride from Phoenix to Parker in Arizona. And I've always loved riding bikes, so that got me into bike riding. And so then I got into long distance cycling. Okay, now I'm stepping into this adventure in my life. Well, then our girlfriend and I said, well, we should run a marathon. Oh my God, running 1 mile sucked. This is it. Her first mile, didn't it suck? It hurt. Well, we did it, and then people come along in my life, and next thing I know, I'm running a 50 miler. Next thing I know, I'm running 100 miles. And it's just how we're being inspired by others. And that's what our gift in life is too, is to inspire someone else to do. That's what your gift in life is, to inspire somebody else to be their potential. And so we just never know what our potential is and having those challenges. And so I've done a bunch of hundreds, but what's 250 look like?
You'll have to tell me what it looks like.
I will be happy to tell you what it looks like. I'm super excited to do it. But even with that, it's your adventure going through the Indy Mini. I think the whole experience of that and the people around that. Do you have anybody you train with, or do you just do this by yourself?
For the most part, I would say that I am training by myself. My partner has run this particular race several times and has also done a couple of full marathons. And so he is a huge moral support and is doing some running on his own at this time. He may or may not be doing the Indy Mini. Scheduling is getting in the way for him. However, even though he's not on the trail with me running, I feel like he's kind of along for this journey with me.
Right. I have the same. My husband does a lot of support, but he's a runner as well, and we support each other. And it's if the in that relationship or my relationship is the fact that we know they're always in our heart, they're always there with us no matter what. Is pretty. You have that togetherness, but that independence as well, and so
Yes,
that's
it
pretty
feels really
beautiful.
good. I also
Yeah,
have some friends who are doing it. And again, while we are not training together, we're
right.
still talking about how training is going. We're talking about
That's
our
good.
mileage and those types of things.
There's nothing better than community, right?
That's what
Being
it's all
connected
about,
with people.
regardless of what the commonality is, the value of human connection and the shared experiences.
Exactly. That's a lot what the message behind my podcast is. And I don't deal I running strong and I'm was a 100-mile runner, and the fact that there's so many amazing elites out there. These people setting amazing records. Just last weekend at Jackpot, Ashley Paulson set the world record for a 100-mile race. It's just amazing people. I mean, I couldn't do that, but I could set my age group record if I go back and do it next year. But it's just people doing amazing things and sharing that story and being in that. So, what I had a question there, and I apologize. It went in and out of my head, but sorry about
Happens to me more and more
that.
frequently the older I get, so I understand.
So, what inspired you on your podcast to start your podcast? And please tell the name of your podcast again.
Sure. So the name of it is The Highly Sensitive Woman. As of right now, I think there's a name change coming soon, so I'll keep you updated on that. But I wanted to start it. Initially, I just wanted to start a podcast. I had this idea for it, and it was one of those things that I never had an inkling of wanting to do it, and then I did. And stepping into my potential and using my voice for someone who had been quiet for much of her life felt really scary and also really exciting. And
Very liberating.
yes, and when I sat down and thought about what I wanted to talk about and who I wanted to talk to, I really felt drawn to talk to other highly sensitive women who had maybe had the same experience that I did of feeling like they were somehow broken and needed to change or fix themselves and wanted to instead give them messaging that they are exactly the way that they should be and learning how to work with it and to have tools to live the lives and do the things that they want to do and not be limited because, going to a big sporting event or concert or something like that can be very loud and overstimulating. I wanted to show them how you can still do those things and how to prepare ahead of time, what to do in the moment after, and all of that that comes with being a highly sensitive woman. And also how to not be afraid of the big emotions because so often it's not the big emotions that are necessarily the quote unquote problem. It's the fear and the shame and all of the other emotions that come on top of that we compound, and then that's where we run into trouble. So learning how to not be afraid of those big emotions and to embrace them and to trust them.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful, and I really honor you on that journey. That's where I was going to go was the podcast is that there's so many people out there that are focused. There's so many other podcasts that focus on the elite, and I get it, and they're amazing, and their stories are amazing. But there's this other group of people, which is 95% of the group, that nobody knows about. And I started that journey from my 2017 Western States story because it's like, what's the stories that go on behind people doing what the amazing things they do? And then as a coach, I work the mind body connection. We're not just all mental, we have the body that has the emotions and bringing that all together because we are a complete human, a human with emotions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And working with my clients, the same. So much of the time they're afraid to be in their bodies and they're just like trying to be in their head and
Right.
trying to get that. I mean, I know it's all connected, but to actually get it connected and that you don't have to choose one or the other, that you can work together with your thoughts and your emotions.
I want to say that for even guys, women are better with their emotions, but guys can be so logical because there is providers and they're this and they're that. But if they tap into their heart, that's just so beautiful to have that emotion because then they can be empathetic. It's easier to be empathetic with ourselves and with others. And bringing curiosity in your relationships and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a blast on my end of doing the podcast because I'm meeting some wonderful people like yourself, and we're expanding our world here, bringing value to the people who listen to my podcast and just having fun, just having fun in life. One of my strongest values is connection and learning about people because there's so many amazing people out there, and it's been an absolute gift hearing about your